welding this truss on is we got this axle nice and hot, especially the casting, because when you weld regular steel to cast, you need to heat it up. What that does is it has a tendency to melt the seals, and so our friends at East Coast Gear Supply gave us some replacement seals to go in, and you know, nice, fresh, clean, new seals. Even though these might be good, just put them in. It's not that big of a deal. Well, yeah, and there's two different sizes for this JL. There is for this is the axle disconnect section, and it has a bigger seal because the shafts are a little bit bigger in through here. And then this other seal that goes in for the driver's side is a more traditional regular axle seal like you might find in a whole lot of other axles.
So it is necessary to drive the seal out. The seal is located
Right there.
clear in there. My seal driver is nowhere near that long, so just using a piece of tubing that will slip over the end of the handle to give me a longer driver. Insert that up against the back of the seal.
Grab something to hit it with.
And grab something to hit it with.
And what is this? All right, so here is the old seal. It doesn't look too much worse for wear, but we're going to take it out. This is a small alignment guide, and you can see it got a little cooked. But all it is a plastic piece that aligns the shaft as you're sliding it in. So this doesn't carry any weight, it doesn't align anything once the axle is in place. So we'll just reuse it as is. Okay, and we've got another plastic alignment guide, and again, it got cooked, but all it has to do is just help line up the shaft when you're sliding in. It doesn't actually hold anything once you're all installed. This is just a handy installation tool. And so, ooh, there's dirt in there. We're gonna clean that out and then get everything back in.
One way to bring Moab back home with you.
So this one is the old seal, this one is the new seal. They look basically the same. So yeah, they say when you go to Moab, the Moab dirt gets everywhere, and I'm telling you everywhere, because that's where this came from. It came in from the outside of the tube and landed itself inside here on the outside of the seal, so it didn't get in and contaminate the differential. But when you go to Moab, you're cleaning out dirt every time you open up the Jeep.
So what are you doing about that, Roy?
Well, I'm going to do, when I install my RCV axle shafts, I've got the companion RCV tube seals that go with it and provide a block to keep the keep all the dirt and debris and water and everything else out. So one of the things I like to do when I install a seal is get a layer of RTV to go around the outside that goes in here, because I have installed seals in the past where they didn't quite go in 100% straight and they leaked a little bit, even though they didn't leak around here. They did leak around here. This time we have a little better tool, but I'm still going to use my trick. RTV, nasty and gets everywhere. So wear gloves.
Starting.
All right, so we get the seal. Get it lined up where it needs to go.
This is our seal installation tool.
Okay, and then we just need a wrench. We have a wrench.
This is a new tool. We've not used this before, but it seems like a lot better idea than a hammer on the end of a broomstick.
Right. And the seal's going in. So.
Okay. Well, as long as it's going in straight.
Appears to be. And yeah, the nice thing about this is that it just kind of...
Same basic principle here as the ball joint press.
Just an entirely different sort of tools to buy. So how do you know when to stop?
You go until you get past the edge of the seal. So one more turn and you're done. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So you don't
This
wanna
doesn't have a stop.
Oh, you don't want to bottom these
No,
out?
no, you don't bottom this one out.
Okay.
How do you know not to bottom this one out?
Because there was dirt behind it
Oh, yeah, that's right.
in a space that wouldn't have gotten dirt if it had been bottomed out.
Understood.
Okay. Feels stable enough. There. And again, I'm not really putting together a bead. I'm just on the surface where the seal is going to touch. Yeah, I'm just getting a thin layer.
Smashy thing.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Yeah. Okay, it's now flush,
Okay.
which is about as far as this is going to drive it.
All righty.
Okay. And the disc is out.
Okay. And so in order to get this seal in, our nice big seal driver that works in a differential doesn't work in an axle disconnect location. So we're using the seal driver, and we've already put away the size that's appropriate. We got a socket, and we assembled a bunch of extensions, slid it all the way through the axle tube. Once this end was through, we lined up the seal driver, got it in place. Kenneth held it, made sure everything stayed straight, and I sat here on this end and hit it with a hammer, and that's what it took to knock the seal in. And it's nice to have extensions so you can assemble as you go in case you've got things in the way. So yeah, very important tip anytime you have the differential open like this, especially with us. We got some blowing dust. We actually got a little rain that might have gotten in, so hit it with brake parts cleaner and make sure you get all the debris out. Yeah, you don't want that floating around in your differential.
When using a case spreader, the idea is to take some of the tension off to facilitate installation of the center section. But you don't want to spread the case more than a few hundredths of a millimeter because it may not rebound properly.
Yeah. So, and also, one of the things as we clean these, so always when you're taking these apart, keep the shims that will sit here and again on this side. Make sure they stay on the correct side because that affects the side-to-side placement of the gears, and they need to go back in exactly how they came out. Yeah, and also the bearing race. kind of meshes with the bearing, and so you don't want to take those and flip them side to side, because they will have worn slightly differently, even though they came from the factory the same way. They kind of marry each other as you drive the vehicle. And
Part of vehicle break-in.
That's part of the break-in, and that's where some of that little bit of dust comes from when you go to take the fluid out. You can see, I don't know how close I need to get, but you can kind of see the shadow of the wear pattern in the race.
Even at all of 16,000 miles.
16,000 miles. Yeah, this is just starting to get broken in. Okay. So yeah, I'm just leaving it there. But yeah, we need to take those out to put the differential in.
Correct. It's putting those down in a place that is.
Yeah. So we're just being very meticulous and making sure we put it on the side it's supposed to be on, so that we don't forget, we don't accidentally mix them up.
So which side of this operation do you want to be on?
Dealer's choice.
Okay. Tell you what, I'll go stand on the back side and let you deal with the.
Okay. Also, this is a Rubicon differential, and so this assembly right here, oh, we really need to clean that out a little more. This assembly is the locking mechanism, and it needs to go in a very specific way. All right. Now, one thing we have to do at the same time is get the wiring to go in. So,
Okay.
that. Get that. If you can guide the wire into the hole.
Okay. Pigtail is in the hole.
All right. And okay. And I'm using the soft end of the hammer so that I don't mar anything. Yeah. Okay, and that should be pretty well seated. You could be the roll big dolls. And I just washed off your mark, by the way. Your Sharpie mark.
Okay. Well, keep track of which side that was on.
Well, I know where the mark was. Speak to the dots.
So, when we disassemble, we want to make sure that we get the bearing caps back on the same side, because they are machine specific to the housing, and in the same orientation top to bottom. So when we did this, we put a mark with a punch on the housing and a corresponding mark with a punch on the bearing caps. Now, I also threw some Sharpie on, but as you can see, the problem with the Sharpie is it gets washed off in the cleaning process. But you want to make sure that these always go back in the same, because you cannot reverse, modify, change. As a matter of fact, the bearing caps are specific to this specific housing. They cannot be put into another housing. Other bearing cap, because this is a Rubicon, there is a retainer for the locker mechanism that has to line up and is attached with the bearing caps as well. And you see this pin has to line up in that notch, and it keeps the locker mechanism from rotating.
Now we just need to get torque specs and
Yep.
plug it down and get things plugged back in.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Rubicon locker, you have the wires that go to the locking mechanism that come out the back, but then there's also this locker sensor wire setup, and here is a locker sensor. One of the problems you run into with these locker sensors over the years is that oil seeps into this sensor, it shorts out the sensor, and you start getting locker failure problems. There is a good thread on the JL Wrangler forum in the section on transmissions, axles, and gears that talks about what you call potting the sensor. And so what you do is you drill a couple of holes in the top, you drill one down here in the bottom, and then you inject in some potting compound. And what that does is it completely fills the cavity. It's non-conductive, it's oil resistant. It keeps the locker sensor mechanism from getting shorted out by oil getting into this. And you can see I've already done that. And mine does not have any oil on the inside. It's all sealed, all nice. And so if you have a chance, if you're taking your differential apart, you can get the potting compound off Amazon.com, get a little drill, pop a couple of holes. Takes overnight to cure, but it's a good investment to keep things from going bad on you. And so this plugs in, and then he comes along in like that. And okay, I've slept since I took this apart. Can't remember how it goes back together. There it goes. Okay. Oh, that's right. And this bolt ends up being in the way. That's right. Bolt head is in the way.
Ah. So when you potted those originally, did you have to remove that bolt?
Yeah, I'm remembering that now. And that gives you access to the bolt. Okay. And it goes back together.
Factory's torque spec is 70 to 90 foot-pounds.
Well, compared with the other one, it doesn't. I don't know that that looks like the other one.
He looks more like an OEM bolt. I agree. Yeah, he's more of an OEM.
Yeah, so that's not the bolt.
There are 3. Were you expecting 4?
I was expecting 4 of those.
Okay.
It's probably got some gunk in the hole.
So as part of this, we're installing the